Patrick Swayze, the name that captivated millions of audiences worldwide with his warm eyes, sincere smile and captivating dance moves in Dirty Dancing, has left a deep mark not only in cinema, but also in the hearts of art lovers. However, behind that strong appearance was a painful journey fighting pancreatic cancer, a disease that eventually took his life in 2009, when he was only 57 years old. Patrick's last days were not only a series of physical pain, but also moments of deep, loving and brave moments. He lived, loved and left with a heart without regrets, and his last words made the whole world choke up. 1. The uncompromising fight. In January 2008, Patrick Swayze was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer, a stage where there was almost no chance of survival. The doctor told him straight that the hope of survival was only a matter of months. But Patrick, who had transformed into strong and resilient characters, chose to face his fate with all his strength. He did not give up. He continued to work, still acted in movies, and still appeared in public with his familiar optimistic smile. During more than 20 months of fighting the disease, Patrick collapsed many times due to severe pain. But the man still did not give up his faith. I do not want to die. I still have many things I want to do, many people I want to love again. He once shared in an interview on Barbara Walters' Special Point 2. The woman who was by his side until the end. During 34 years of marriage, Lisa Niemi, Patrick's wife, partner, and soulmate, has always been a solid support for him. The two met when Patrick was only 18 years old, and Lisa was a little girl who was passionate about ballet. They fell in love at first sight and built a love that is rare in Hollywood. When Patrick was diagnosed, Lisa was the only one who understood what he was going through. She took care of him every meal, every sleep, even learned how to mix medicine and monitor his medical index to ensure he was treated properly. She recounted in her memoir Worth Fighting For, "There were nights when he couldn't sleep because of the pain. I lay next to him, held his hand and whispered, 'You won't have to go alone.' And he looked at me and said weakly, 'You know, I'm always here.'" Point 3. The final days, between love and acceptance. When Patrick's condition became more serious in mid-2009, Patrick was forced to withdraw from film projects and return to the couple's ranch in New Mexico, a place he always called the last paradise. Relatives said he spent most of his time watching the sunset, talking to Lisa and remembering the good memories of his life. He was no longer afraid, but regretted not being able to say enough loving words to his wife and close friends. A close friend of his, actress Kelly Lynch, once said, "Patrick was always the strongest person in the room." But in his final days, he just wanted everything to be peaceful. He said he wanted to be remembered as someone who lived life to the fullest, not as a cancer patient. Point 4. The last words, simple yet powerful. On September 14, 2009, Patrick Swayze took his last breath in Lisa's arms. Minutes before, he whispered words that Lisa later said would be engraved in her heart forever. "I love you, and I'm ready. Don't be sad, because I'll always be with you, just in a different form." Lisa recounted that Patrick said it in a voice as light as the wind, with a peaceful look in his eyes. He was no longer in pain. He just smiled, as if preparing for a long journey. Those last words, simple, not flowery, contained all the love, courage and gratitude. They were not just the goodbye of a husband, but the message of a free spirit, who lived and loved with all his heart. 5. The legacy of a legend. After Patrick passed away, Hollywood and fans around the world sent countless condolences. Millions of people cried when watching his life-changing roles: Johnny Castle in Dirty Dancing, Sam Wheat in Ghost, or Bodhi in Point Break. But what people will remember forever is not just his acting talent, but his fighting spirit, a man who lived with the belief that nothing can defeat love and human will. Lisa Niemi still keeps her promise to her husband. Every morning, she steps out onto the balcony, looks at the sunrise and whispers, "Good morning, honey." And perhaps, somewhere in the dim light of the early morning, Patrick is still smiling. 6. A Love Without End. Years later, when asked if time had helped her overcome the pain of losing Patrick, Lisa simply smiled sadly and replied, "Nobody ever gets over that loss. You just learn to live with it. I still feel him, in the songs, in the wind, in the sunshine. He never left me." She also said that, before he passed away, Patrick left her a few lines, not a will, but a final love letter. "If there is an afterlife, I will still find you. I will recognize you by that smile, by that look, and by the way my heart flutters when you are near." Lisa kept that letter with her for many years, yellowed, but never faded. Patrick Swayze left behind not only classic films, but also a legacy of courage, love and resilience. He taught the world that even when death is approaching, people can still live fully, love and spread light. Patrick's last words, "I love you, and I will always be with you," were not just for Lisa, but as a message to all of us. Love with all your heart, because life is limited, but love is eternal. Candle Patrick Swayze, 1952 to 2009. The man who lived his last dance, strong, passionate and full of love.